thing that we've got is 4 Rivals events. So we've got 2 monthly Rivals, maybe a little sneak peek into the cars, and 2 Forza EVs, another sneak peek into some of the cars. And then finally, to finish off, we've got the Rally Adventure PR Stunt and Event, and the Hot Wheels PR Stunt and Event. Cool.
Excellent.
And so jumping into autumn, the storm season, we've got the BMW iX 2022 for 20 points, and we've got the Porsche Emery 356 for 40 points. Really beautiful car that one is. We've got for the weekly, we've got the amazing Lamborghini Diablo. We've got some daily challenges.
Photon finish.
Yeah, photon finish. Yeah, science friction
is
masterpiece. I mean, they just keep going.
I can't take this.
So for the trial again, we've got a livery by Papa Emmy. Papa Emmy makes kind of quite subtle, almost like very realistic. You could very much imagine seeing these out on the streets. Really tasteful designs. Love Papa Emmy's designs.
And it's lovely seeing some of the livery designers be featured as well in the festival playlist. Yeah,
the EventLab creators get lots of shout outs, and we thought it was only fair to give, as it's the Horizon Creative Series, to give the livery editors and livery creators a little bit of the spotlight as well.
Absolutely.
Jumping on to the EventLabs, we've got Type Hardpark, a classic veteran EventLab creator for Mudslinger Scramble. We've got EventLab by Hans12, which is Player as Yule Scramble. And we've got an event by Magnus9270, Autodromo del Lago Trasimeno.
Lovely.
Giuseppe is cringing as we speak. So this is a really cool track by Magnus. It's kind of like a small circuit. Players can take their cars around and set their best times on. So that's an awesome one to try. So for the PR stunts, it's the Chevrolet ZR2. And this is danger signs in B class, so build your best ZR2 for danger signs and go smash those out. We've got the Seasonal Championships, another treasure stunt for players to carry out and get their treasure at the end of it. We've got the Photo Challenge, Picture Perfect. Sorry.
Nope.
Nothing.
No.
Okay. And then to finish off, we've got the monthly rivals, Forza EV, the rally events, and the Hot Wheels events. For the winter series, winter season, the dry season, we've got the hero car itself, the BMW M2 2023.
There it is.
20 points, kill pack.
The car.
Yeah.
The car.
The reason why I'm here.
Yeah. And then for 40 points, we've got the BMW E92 M3 GTS.
Also an amazing car.
Yeah, an amazing car. Love those two colours together, the blue and the orange.
Quite a vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big fan of that.
We've got the chunky boy himself, the Super Duty F450 Platinum. Yeah.
It looks like a truck has eaten another truck.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it has. Yeah, these are huge vehicles, so players can try that out for the weekly. We've got some daily challenges, the Forzathon shop, the third trial. This is PGC Fluix.
Yes, that's a name we are very familiar with, and that is a gorgeous livery as well.
I had to pick this one. It's got the EventLab logo on the back, and this really interesting kind of almost like Texan Spanish style bull on the side with a really nice geometric pattern on it.
Yes.
We'll jump into the Event Labs, which is GT Deny, which is Village Rally. This is kind of like a quite interesting slower route that players can kind of go through a jungle village. And then a circuit event by ESV Green. Their ESV Green's Onyx Bridge Circuit. So good they named it after themselves. You know it's pretty good. We've got the seasonal playground games. The PR stunts are in the RX-7 Spirit in an A class. The seasonal championships. The third and final treasure stunt for the series, which is the Horizon Baja one. And all the treasure stunts are kind of linked to a Horizon festival site, so you'll see that as you go around.
The most adorable piñata in existence.
Yes, the dinosaurs. This is a little throwback actually to one of the collectible challenges we had. I think it was at the stadium. Some similar piñata dinosaurs were in a almost the same predicament. So that's a little throwback to that. The photo challenge, Avant Gardens, driving Miatas, which is the Horizon Open Challenge, Boiling Point, which is the collectible. And again, to finish off, we got the monthly rivals, Forza EV, the rally events, and the Hot Wheels events. And to finish off, we've got the spring season, the hot season as you like, which for 20 points, you've got the BMW i4 2022 for 20 points, and the Porsche 550 for 40 points. We've got the Renault Megane RS, quite close to Chris's heart, I think this one. This is, Chris is a bit of a Renault Megane RS fan. We've got some more daily challenges. The Forzathon shop, the final trial, which has got a livery by Ton Ad, a really cool livery. This one is very aggressive. Love the colours as well. Final 3 event labs by Dexter 4130D, Stadium Supercross, and we've got one by XR Cosworth 01. Cozzy's a really great person within the community, so talk to him quite a bit. So White Sands Full Circuit. And then the final one is by Scuba Duba 6524, which is Atlantes de Tula Road Circuit.
Lovely.
The final PR stunts are in the Dodge Viper 08 in S1. So these are speed zones, so build your best grip monster and take them to the speed zones. We've got the seasonal championships, and then we've got the Horizon Tour. We're trying a slightly different thing for the Horizon Tour. We've upped the points for this to 8. It's to kind of resemble or kind of mirror the amount of time that it takes to complete a Horizon Tour. It's almost like a similar on part of the trial is how long it takes. So we thought that
time invested.
Yeah, it's 8 points kind of suits that a little bit more. So players can grab those there. We've got the photo challenge, Flutter Speed, the monthly rivals, Forza EV, the rally events and PR stunt, and the Hot Wheels events and PR stunt.
There we
That's
go.
us.
That's
We're
it.
done. Yeah.
Nothing else to see there.
No.
never.
Okay,
nothing else to
not
see
for
there.
now. Yeah, we'll say that later.
Absolutely, we will. And that is the festival playlist for the coming weeks. So I think we should have a look at one of the cars then that we teased in the rewards there. So we have the BMW M2 first up. So you are the whole reason for your existence here on Forza Horizon Let's Go is to talk about the BMW M2. So what have you got for us?
Yeah, this is why I'm here. So this is the new G87 M2. But just to give a little bit of context on previous M2s, we first seen one all the way back in 2016, and that was the F87 generation, and that was a fantastic car and a very well received M car at that point in time, because BMWs of that era, they've gotten so much larger than they once were. So it was great to see a more playful M car with a wheelbase like the M2, a lot shorter than the M3 and the M4. And they brought out a competition version as well a couple of years after that, and I think that was one of the best looking M2s.
Oh, Alex, I'm just going to, Chris, you might have actually spotted a cheeky little thing down here.
Oh, okay.
So we can all watch Chris embarrass himself as he tries one of these. So this is the first treasure stunt that you'll get to on the first week. So sorry, Killpacker, just had to...
No, it's an important introduction,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so they brought out that M2 competition model, and as I say, I think that was one of the best looking M cars ever built. And so this one had a lot to live up to in regards to the way it was going to look. So as I say, this is the new G87. It was actually designed by Mexican designer Jose Casas, and it's actually currently in production in Mexico as well. So we're obviously back to where it all started for this car.
Absolutely.
And
it's very fitting, isn't it?
Yeah, what a better place than to drive it around the Horizon Festival.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this car actually launched with 5 different paint colours. You can make. I know it's rear wheel drive.
I was worried he was going to do that.
You were hoping, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Worried.
Yeah, so this car actually launched with 5 colours, including this beautiful, some would say beautiful Zambia blue. Yeah, no one would say. But yeah, it comes with Toronto red as well, which is another launch colour. As Chris does a somersault on the ramp.
It's all good.
Painting the inside Toronto red if you start driving like that for your life.
Yeah, it come with Toronto Red. We've got in the game Sapphire Black, Alpine White, and Brooklyn Grey as well. Wild and Chris.
And do you have T-shirts for every one of those colours?
No, I'm gonna though. I'm gonna get the full collage.
Full complement.
Most definitely. And if you're like me as well, and you spend far too much time in the configurators in the evening, then you'll know that they've added 2 new paint colours as well. They've got Frozen Pure Grey and Frozen Portimao Blue. So all of those colours are going to be on the car for the folks to enjoy.
Excellent. Which is your passion as well. And this is what you do in the game. You're the vehicle design artist.
That's it. But yeah, it shares a lot of parts as well with the M3 and M4. So it shares a lot of the running gear and the engine as well. So it's the S58 twin turbo 3 litre straight 6 lifted directly from the M3, and that produces 460 horsepower and 550 newton meters of torque. So it's an absolute monster of a power plant, to be honest. And it will get the 0 to 62 sprint in 4.1 seconds. That's claimed. I'm sure on a good day when the tyres are warm, you'd get it way under 4. You can get the car as well in the 8-speed ZF automatic or the manual. In our game, in this car, we've got the manual because it's manual, and if you buy one, you've got to have a manual. And it's going to be a shame, I think, in the future, because we're not going to see cars like this, I don't think, in 10 years' time. You know, we've got a big engine up front, rear-wheel drive, manual, just sub 500 brake. What a car!
Yeah.
And it's incredibly capable as well, and it's even just set the lap record at the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the compact class segment. I think I've not got the exact figure in front of me, but I think it did a 7-minute 38, give or take a couple of tenths.
You went at the weekend as well. Did you see any when you were there?
There was a couple. Yeah, there was a couple of new M2s. Seen one in Toronto Red and a beautiful blue.
Yeah, nice.
So it was good to see it in person eventually, because I've not seen one in the UK yet. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah, design is bold and brash, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic personally.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, not only has it set a record in the Nürburgring, but it also managed to complete that treasure stunt perfectly.
Yeah,
without any.
That is exactly how I wanted those to be completed.
So you envisioned when you created that,
a seamless attempt at the treasure stunt.
Well, we're going to go into our next reward car now, which is the BMW M3. So I'm not sure if, of course, this car would have made those jumps perfectly first time.
It did in rehearsal.
It did.
It did.
This one's I love the colour of this one as well. Very pretty. Do you know the colour name for this one?
Isle Green.
Oh my God! Yeah, look at that. You're the colour encyclopedia.
No top change for that?
Yeah. Well, that was your job.
Yes, that's us.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, if I turn this one inside out, it is Isle Green.
Really, is it?
That's his jacket. That's his jacket on.
To be fair, that chair looks odd.
Yeah.
But, that was the launch colour for the M3, as well as the Sao Paulo yellow as well. So we've got those 2 on this car, and a bunch more.
So as Alex said, same power plant as the M2, but in the M3 powers up to 510 horsepower, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Mad. Like turn of the millennia, like I think what the E46 M3 was 330 horsepower, something like that. So
big difference.
Massive difference, man. Yeah. So I crash into some rocks.
Get stuck in.
You know what? Should we go to the garage to save me embarrassing myself?
Let's do that. That sounds fantastic.
And have a look at
perfect transition there. That you worked that nicely.
Just showing the durability of the M3. It's incredible.
That's got the ZF 8-speed as well, that car in it. So what a gearbox.
Yeah, great gearbox.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thought we'd show, we've got some of the BMW M parts you can put on it as well. So some nice little wings. If you want 4 exhausts like that, you can have 4 exhausts like that. And some little side skirts. So you can kind of option your car up much like you would at a dealership.
I do feel like the green actually works with the front end shape of this car in particular. For all the colours, the green makes it look the best.
It is a really nice green.
Yeah.
The generation of these M Sport cars is very kind of chalk and cheese. You either like it or you love it, but I think it comes in, you have to go for kind of a slightly out there colour, and it really complements them nicely.
Yeah.
Definitely elicits strong reactions.
It definitely divides people, I think, when they're first seen. But you just need to see it in the flesh, and it's got so much road presence. It's really, I think, stance nice, and the design is just so bold and brave. And
BMW aren't afraid of going out there, changing their designs. They could kind of rest with what they've got and keep it the same. But they are not afraid to kind of really kind of push people's opinions on stuff and design, and I think it pays off. It looks really good, and I think it grows on you as well. Like when you see them out in real life as well. We've got one of the guys here that's got one of these entries, and it is just such a beautiful car to see. Yeah, really jealous.
So much road presence, definitely out in the car park. One day I'll just get in that and go home instead of.
Oops, my mistake. I've gone to the wrong car. Well, there we go. That's the BMW M3, one of your reward cars. Let's take a look at our last reward car then, which is the Corvette E-Ray. With the release of the newest entry in the Motorsport series, we want to recognise the biggest fans of the Forza franchise, those who enjoy both the Horizon and the Motorsport experience. Now, if you pre-order the premium version of Forza Motorsport, you will receive the car that appears right on its cover, the 2024 Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray in Forza Horizon 5. We also have great news if you use Game Pass Ultimate. If you download Motorsport, you will be able to receive the E-Ray beginning October 10th, which is, of course, the release of Forza Motorsport. Yay! So let's take a closer look and take it out for a test drive then. I believe we've got it all ready to go and looking gorgeous. Look at that.
Here we have it. So the C8 Corvette was a first for Corvettes, being mid-engined, and a further first for Corvettes is hybrid as well.
Ooh.
So up front we've got two electric motors, or one of the two. It's got electric motors in the front, giving it a total power output of 655 horsepower. The E-Ray also uses the Z06 body, which is wider, so it's wider, bigger tyres, kind of a bit more planted, focused on handling. But being all-wheel drive as well, 0 to 60 comes up in just 2.5 seconds, and quarter mile in 10.5 seconds. So this is a very quick car. And being all-wheel drive, it's also very planted. It's got a bit of a rear bias to it. I think 66% of the power is going to a back axle on it, so it still does good slides.
It's all about good slides with you.
It's how I rate cars, come on. If it doesn't do good skids, then what's the point anyway? But yeah, awesome car, and absolutely amazing to have the cover car of Motorsport coming in.
Yeah.
Such a nice way to tie it all together.
Yeah.
Big fan of that.
And if you go into the garage with it as well, it's got some of the Z06 aero parts you can put on it as well. So really nice one.
Killback, do you know the colour of this one? Blue.
It's not a BMW.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's only BMWs.
Yeah. Can you even tell what colour that is from looking at it, because it's not got a BMW badge?
It's red, isn't it?
It's like fully colourblind, not your brand. Well, either way, it is gorgeous, and not only that, but there are 2 more new cars coming this month, courtesy of Rivian. We've got the R1S and the R1T. Chris here was lucky enough to sit down with Rivian Chief Design Officer Jeff Hammond last week, even to discuss the design behind these vehicles. So we're going to play that chat for you right now on the show. So we'll be back afterwards, though, to talk about all things EventLab.
Hey Jeff, welcome to Forza Let's Go. It's great to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to chat about the vehicles that are coming up in the game soon.
Yeah, so we're incredibly excited to add both the Rivian R1S and R1T to Forza Horizon 5's car roster. So Rivian's a fairly new manufacturer, and these are the company's first production vehicles. So what's the history behind the manufacturer, and how does its approach differ to other manufacturers?
So Rivian's actually been around since about 2009. I personally joined in 2017, so I've been there for about 6 years. But the company's gone through many different transitions in terms of what the products we were going to be offering. It wasn't always going to be in a truck and SUV. At one point, there was a electric, little affordable sports car that our founder and CEO, RJ Scringe, was looking at. And as he started to develop it, started to realize it's like, okay, what are the areas of the market where Rivian could have the most impact in sort of addressing climate change and providing an opportunity to get more people into EVs. And one of the biggest areas when we started to really look at it, especially in the United States, is the truck and SUV market. And typically, you look back around 2009, even before that, most of the EVs you'd be looking at were more affordable, sort of, maybe not the most aspirational type of vehicles, you would say, and how could we provide something that could provide customers sort of what they want and what they need in terms of having a big vehicle, but without the guilt associated with a big internal combustion engine. So we really tried to focus on, how could we get into the market of a truck and an SUV in a way that was unique to not only the market, but unique to Rivian as a brand. And that's how we came up with the R1T and R1S.
Amazing. So visually, they're also both very good-looking vehicles. Coming up with a new design language must be an incredibly exciting, but also quite a complex task. Could you walk through that a little bit?
We really wanted to, when we started to look at it, the big thing we really looked at before we even thought about lines and surfacing was, one, what was the market we wanted to address? How did we want to design the vehicle around the customer? So really thinking about usability first, and really let the form follow the function of the vehicle, instead of just thinking about, in typical terms, taking a shape and just putting styling lines on it. I like to call that decorating the cake. We don't want to decorate cakes here, so we really want to think from first principles about how do we want to design the car. And one of the biggest areas that I think we added a lot of personality to it, which defines our brand and is very recognizable, is the front end. And you look at trucks and SUVs, especially truck space and the ICE vehicles, is, the way they define themselves is with a big grille, and it's a lot of times they're extremely aggressive. And we knew that's not what we wanted to be. We wanted to be confident and intelligent, but still be approachable. So that was one of the tasks we set our designers out on. And even though, because we're an EV, we don't need a big grille, but we wanted to communicate power and strength. So that's why it's got a very, vertical hood, a hood line, and a very, horizontal hood line as well. And the main thing we wanted to look at was how can we create a graphic that is immediately recognizable as a Rivian from a long distance? And it actually started off with an idea of looking at our color and materials boards, which we had a bunch of different references from many different things that were non-automotive and more the lifestyle brand that we were trying to create in terms of this adventure-focused mentality. And one of our designers had a little carabiner on there as an inspiration for the finishes on it. And another designer basically did a sketch of, we would have this kayak that was attached to the roof, and then you'd have these little carabiner type hooks that were on the edge of the hood that you'd be able to pull up and basically use them as tie downs as, for the kayak. And when we saw that, we're like, actually, that's really cool. And it became the headlight signature. So
that's really cool. I also really love the headlights and the general face of the trucks. You kind of touched on it there. How does being an EV affect the overall design, and what are the advantages there?
Well, with the EV, aside from the obvious things like, you don't have to have a grille, and you can basically have a lot more freedom with the front end in terms of not having to worry about big cooling openings. You still do need some cooling openings, despite what people may think, because you still got a lot of cooling that you need to do for the radiator, HVAC systems, and battery cooling. So you still need that. But really the big areas of where we could help is being able to have a completely flat floor and not having to worry about, an axle or transmission tunnel. And that really provided us really unique opportunities from an overall package layout. And one of the things that I really love about the R1T is the gear tunnel. It provides a really unique use case for something that in an area that's usually just wasted in a truck, and we wanted to maximize sort of cargo capacity for it. And it's really telling from when you look at a pickup truck, which is amazing that those vehicles are really designed to carry things. But if you ever lived with a pickup truck for any amount of time, you'll know that doing things like simple tasks like going grocery shopping is extremely difficult, because you're not going to put it in the bed because it's going to fly all the way around. You don't have a frunk, you don't have a gear tunnel. So 9 times out of 10, you're usually putting them in the back seats, which is fine if you're by yourself. But if you've got 4 passengers or maybe a couple of children, it doesn't really work very well. So when we think about adventure, we didn't want to just think about, the typical things that people might automatically presume, like camping or kayaking or surfing or mountain biking. Adventure could be just, literally going to IKEA and loading up your truck with things. So thinking about different ways that we can really provide unique opportunities for storage spaces. And the gear tunnel, I think, is really cool with that, because you could put things that are really long inside of there. It's also a lockable storage that you don't see inside the vehicle. Which is also nice too if you're worried about security and people breaking in, and also having the frunk, right? Having that extra space. So personally, I have an R1T, and the frunk is what I use all the time going grocery shopping, and typically there'd be an engine there. So that being an EV provides you that space that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Amazing. Yeah, the gear tunnel is. I've never seen anything like that on a car before, and it's truly awesome. So dynamically, the R1S and R1T are hugely impressive as well. Was there always an intention to make them some of the most technologically advanced trucks?
From a software point of view, yes, and that was always part of the plan. But in terms of its dynamics, it was something that evolved over time. We weren't originally going to say we were going to be really off-road prowess, but that sort of evolved over time. And as it evolved, we're like, okay, this is our halo vehicle. It's coming out. The first sort of impression or handshake with the world, we would say, with Rivian. So we wanted it to be capable in every means. And it wasn't just about capable in terms of off-road performance, because there's a lot of vehicles that do that. What we really wanted to have was this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of personality, where you can go off-roading with it and it's extremely capable, but at the same point, you can go carve a canyon with it. And there's usually vehicles that do one or the other, and they don't do them both well. And that was something we really focused on, to have this sort of have your cake and eat it too. So you know what, if I wanted to commute every day in this thing, I can. If I wanted to go off-roading in it, I can. If I want to go through inclement weather, I can. And that was something that really drove us to a lot of the decisions that we made.
I think I've seen it's got things like drift mode, rally mode. How many modes in total are there?
There's actually, I don't remember the actual count of how many modes there are. We have, in terms of suspension modes, there's different heights we have. We have, the lowest mode, low, standard, high, and highest, and those are used in different sort of areas. In terms of drive modes, we have on-road and off-road drive modes. So for on-road, we've got, all-purpose, which is, basically self-explanatory. We've got conserve, which does a rear axle disconnect, which is better for range and lowers ride height. We've got a sport mode is another one that we use as well. That's in there. Off-road modes, we've got within some of our off modes mode, we've got drift mode, we've got rock crawl, we've got all-purpose off-road, there's snow mode. So there's quite a few different modes that really adjust sort of the suspension settings, the traction control settings, the power settings. And because we have 4 wheels with motors in each one, that you can actually really use some of those modes to dictate how we transfer torque vectoring between them, which is something you can really tune in with 4 motors.
And that's something you can only really do with EVs as well, isn't it? The positive and negative torque vectoring, being able to send power to just a single wheel. That's very EV.
Yeah, it really is. That's something you can't do. Obviously, with a nice vehicle, there's you can control different axles independently, but having 4 separate motors and being able to really send power to where they need or decrease power in each corner is something that's really unique to our vehicle.
So to touch back onto the suspension modes, because I'm a bit of a suspension nerd, and I really love the camping mode. As someone that does a bit of overlanding, the idea of being able to level the car is fantastic. Is that kind of an area that Rivian felt was expanding, the overlanding camping segment? I think you touched on earlier just the adventuring in general. Is that really where features like that came from? Yeah,
that's really where it did. We do find there is obviously a lot of customers that use the vehicles that way, and we wanted to provide sort of a seamless experience. And because our vehicles are very software defined, and we do all of our software in-house. I mean, every single controller is done in-house, which is a huge benefit of Rivian, also a unique thing to our company. I mean, there's one other company that does that, which is Tesla. And that provides us unique opportunities to add features like that and continually evolve and change the vehicle as the customer owns it, which is something that's really exciting. Is like people are used to those types of things in devices like their phones. Anything about a phone, you be 2 years, but you buy a vehicle, you're going to own it for usually a lot longer than that. And we want to make sure that the vehicle can evolve and improve over time. And with our software updates, things like camp mode are something that we can continue to work on and provide more afterwards. So it's also leveraging the things we have, like, the air suspension. If we didn't have that suspension set up that way, we wouldn't be able to dial it in there. And the amazing part too is it's not like it required any new hardware for us to put that feature in. It was more software programming than anything, because we already had things in the vehicle that could just be based on the suspension technology that would tell us sort of pitch and roll and be able to adjust things from, one corner to the next.
Fantastic. So I've watched quite a few videos on kind of the details and the quirks of the Rivians. There's a load of, you've mentioned a couple of the features like the tie down points. There's things like the Bluetooth speaker you can pull out, and all the various kind of plug sockets around the vehicles. What was the process for establishing those useful things to add to it that you just don't see on other vehicles?
We spent a lot of time doing a lot of customer research and trying to figure out like what are pain points customers have and how could we improve them in a way that makes the vehicle not only more useful and more user friendly, but also provide unique sort of features that you don't see in other vehicles. You mentioned the tie down points. I mean, tie down points is something that it seems relatively simple, but when you think about all the other vehicles out there, how it's been done in the past is, using something like roof rails. Roof rails, in my opinion, they're not very attractive. I mean, some people like them, but personally, I don't love the way they look. But regardless of whether you like the way they look or not, there's something that are attached to the roof all the time, and they're bad for aero. So anything that you have that's increasing frontal area is bad for aero. Aerodynamics is extremely important on an EV, just because that's basically nets to what your range is going to be. So anything you do to reduce drag is important. And then with most roof racks on all vehicles, they still require you to add crossbars for them to be functional. So they're more tie-down points than anything. Some of the other vehicles that maybe have these, crossbars that you could attach afterwards, you got some little finicky cap that you got to pop off and something you got to kind of screw in, which isn't ideal either. So when we designed those, we wanted something that looked beautiful, whether you had something attached or not. Something that could also be used whether you have something that's attached or not. So if you look at the design of them, we designed them in such a way that the tie-down point can also be used as a latching mechanism for straps or bungee cords. But then the way you add the crossbars to the vehicle, it's something that one person can do on their own, which was important for us too. So could one person do this? And with how you click them in and lock them in, it's a simple motion. So we spent a lot of time really thinking about those touch points about, hey, how do people use this car and how would we make it easier to use? Even something like on the gear tunnel, you can step on the gear tunnel to reach the roof. The flashlight's another one. We just thought it was a really cool little brand defining thing. It's like, hey, what is the best flashlight? It's the best one you have, right? So being able to have it there and be charged at the door. The Bluetooth speaker, which was another one that we thought could be really fun that you could easily remove. And I've been amazed at how many times I've used it, or my wife has used it. She'll be going to the beach and she'll pull it out, and kids on the beach and just have some music there. And then when she's done, she just puts it back in the car and it's fully charged, and it's one less thing you have to carry. So.
Yeah, the Bluetooth speaker, when I saw that one, that was quite a surprise for me. It's for someone who goes camping quite a bit, it's a really nice feature to be able to just pull that out and have it to hand.
Well, and even for camping, I don't know if you'd noticed too, as well, as we really thought about, okay, it doesn't want to just play music. Could it provide then, an ambiance when you're out camping? So it has a camp light. So it kind of provide a nice little glow, or if you're walking and you need to have a little floodlight instead of using the flashlight, which is blaring everywhere and sort of disturbing everybody, you could carry this if you had to go to the bathroom or whatever, or just had to walk around.
I hadn't seen that. That's actually amazing. I really want one. So lastly, we've kind of stepped around probably one of the biggest headline things about both the vehicles. The R1T must be the fastest pickup truck ever made. It's 0 to 60 is 3 seconds, I think, 835 horsepower. That's quite an astonishing headline figure.
Yeah, it's ridiculously fast. I don't use it to half of its capability every day, but we didn't set out to say like, hey, this needs to be the fastest truck. That wasn't one of our goals, but with what we put in from a technology standpoint for off-road and on-road capability and our battery size and technology we have, that we were able to achieve that 0 to 60, it wasn't our main goal, but of course, people like fast cars, so that was definitely something that we were proud to push on. So.
Yes, it's definitely quite a feat. It's very impressive. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been super interesting hearing about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff of these vehicles.
Well, thank you so much, too. It was a pleasure.
So, off the back of that, we've brought along a Nobel Prop Prize, try saying that 3 times fast, winning crew of game devs to peer review this month's EventLab of the Month and show us EventLab 2.0. So, please welcome to Forza Horizon Let's Go, Senior Game Designer Kelly Boyle. Hello! A pleasure to have you here with us again.
Nice to be back.
Nice to see you. What have you been up to recently? You been playing anything?
Playing Starfield. I think that's going to be the answers today.
Yeah, the standard answer. It's just that good. I mean, same with the guys that were just on. A lot of Starfield players there. We also have with us today, for the first time on the show, associate producer Sophie Roberts. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. I love the hair as well.
Thank you.
It's
Well,
kind of matches.
blend in.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. Have you been playing Starfield perchance?
No, not Starfield.
Oh.
I'm playing Baldur's Gate.
There we go, I guess. Same, a woman after my own heart. And we also have with us senior producer Gareth Davis. Hello, Gareth. Welcome,
Hey,
welcome,
good to
welcome.
see you.
Welcome back. I think you're
Yeah.
a veteran of Forza Horizon. Let's go.
I've been on these before,
Yeah,
for a
good.
while, but yeah.
Yes, long time ago with Kelly. Have you been playing anything?
Also Starfield, shockingly
Also
enough.
Starfield, yeah. We are very
Very
spoiled
good.
for games this year. Very
It is
spoiled.
pretty good, yeah.
It's busy
very
for
good.
you.
It has been a very, I mean, even if you will have gaming as a full-time job, is how you're supposed to keep up. But before we jump into everything EventLab 2.0, which we'll be talking about very shortly, let's take a quick look at something made with those archaic EventLab 1.0 tools. That's right, it's time for EventLab of the Month! Hey! And this month's winner is called Marchenhaft Bergpass and was created by Subi156. And if I mispronounce that, I'm very sorry. Please feel free to correct me. Let's take a look at it right now.
I think
So-
the players always challenge us with their naming.
They do, I know. I love it though. It's, it's very always multicultural. There's lots of different languages and all the names, which is terrifying to say on camera. Knowing you'll be torn to pieces. Like, why did you pronounce it like that? I'm sorry, okay? But that is what we'll be playing today. So do you know what to expect for this EventLab? I'm assuming you've maybe gone through it a little bit.
I've played it. I don't know. Have you
okay,
played
Gaz
it?
played
Not
it.
yet. This is a big surprise.
It's pretty
for me.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I found this one a couple of weeks ago. It is, it's a great example of one of those events where players have just like made it feel like a completely different environment.
Oh,
You'll kind of see with
it's always very
decorations.
hard to do that. It's
Yeah.
Very talented.
And super smooth road layout as well, which is another thing that it's tricky to get right. You can tell like a ton of effort went into this one.
I
Yeah.
completely forgot what I was doing then and was not paying attention to my driving. I think Horizon Promo little cameras is like, I really want to take a picture just to get rid of them.
No, what I like to think of is when you're at the back of the pack, you're just getting the cinematic view of all the cars in front of you racing. So, when you're at the front, you don't get to see all that.
Exactly.
It's exciting.
I love all the little buildings they've
Yeah,
created
that
on the
was-
side.
Yeah.
It has a very kind of like European vibe to it, which is very different from the main map.
It does, actually. You know what? It kind of feels a bit German, which maybe makes sense, all things considered.
Yeah, placing like just those like pillars and stuff would have taken a very long time.
Yes, I can imagine so.
If only there was a way to speed up that process. I think
But are you suggesting there might, well,
who can say?
who can tell? Certainly not us.
Spoilers.
Yes, spoilers, exactly. So you've played through this one already, and did you have a hand in choosing the winner?
I did have a hand in choosing.
I don't know how much you want to admit that, should...
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Generally, I guess we can give a bit of behind the scenes. Yeah, we sort of have a Teams group where we share like any fun stuff that we've seen from the community. It's definitely got a lot easier. There's a few kind of groups out there. Forza Creator Guild, who I believe are going to be on Forza Monthly, is
Yes.
a prime place for us to kind of check out stuff that people have made, and it's actually like a really wholesome community that they've built there. They kind of like share like their work in progress stuff and give each other like tips and all that kind of stuff. So
Definitely.
keep an eye on that, and then people promote stuff on like social media and on YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
So you just kind of like grab a bit of everything.
Yeah, there's definitely a
I can
few
see that.
creators that have kind of jumped up as like ones that you always kind of keep an eye on what they're doing, but then you get, I believe this guy in fact was one I'd not seen before, who'd kind of like come to the front as just like a really cool event that someone had made.
We've kind of got like all social media covered between us. Like Gareth will be on Twitter, you'll find me on Reddit, we have Joe in the Discord.
Yeah.
It's like a full-time job all in itself. And despite being on stream, we are now in third place. we're climbing up the ranks.
I'm slightly worried that we're probably on like a potentially easier AI. And
No, we're on the hardest.
oh, definitely
Of course.
We'll pretend.
Is there a specific car choice here? Have you just gone for just randomised?
So I've gone for the BMW M2, which I'm super excited about. It's our hero car of the series.
It is indeed.
I'm sure we've kind of had a...
You're not wearing your Seville blue shirt like Alex. Is
We
it?
should have come themed all in blue.
Yes. We didn't get the memo, unfortunately. But you know what? It very much matches the sky as we're driving through this, which is lovely. It doesn't even reflect the sky, it is the sky.
Such a cool colour, like
It really is. It's powdery blue. We're on lap 2, half 3.
We don't normally play the whole way through.
Yeah, we
It's
don't.
so
We don't.
smooth.
Oh,
It is a
excellent.
fun one to drive on. It's
Well, maybe we shouldn't play all the way through then. Maybe we should.
could have a fly around and look at how they've.
Yeah. Just be like, oh, Kelly got first. Woo.
Yeah, well, amazing, absolutely amazing work. But let's take a wider look at this whole EventLab track then. So,
Really good layout.
yes.
Road layout.
Yeah, he's done this all like around the top of the volcano.
And then if we looking at some of the houses,
Ooh, getting a sneaker peek. Oh, look at that.
beautiful.
It's lovely.
I like it. I wonder how
That
they've
would
made
have
that.
taken a long time to make. I think that's a picnic bench that has been like flipped vertically to make the
Oh, wow.
front door.
Little houses.
It's easy to forget that all of this is very like handmade, bespoke,
Yeah.
asset changed.
I love how our community like use props we don't think about in like ways we never thought they would.
Yeah.
Like make doors and windows and
It's very, very
super cool.
Amazing. Well, there you go. That is the winner of this month's EventLab. What is it? EventLab challenge? EventLab of the month.
Of the month.
EventLab of the month challenge that I've now claimed. If you want to play it yourself, you can check it out right now in the PG Editor's Choice tab in game, or you can look it up using the share code shown on screen, which should be 131660923. But now it's on to the main event because apparently there are maybe some things that have improved with EventLab, EventLab 2.0. So I think, Kelly, you're going to talk us through a little bit what we have to expect here. Let's dive into it. Take us away.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give a bit of context to kind of like why we came about kind of doing EventLab 2.0. So we wanted to call it something that kind of gave across how much we've added in this update. So we felt like EventLab 2.0 kind of gives that point across. But
Yeah.
EventLab is such a huge feature, and we could spend so much time. So we kind of like as a group decided that looking in like what do we want to focus in on this update. So we've kind of made 3 big focuses, which is kind of better surfacing, so kind of finding events easier, better creation, so tools to help like make events, and then also a few quality of life things that players have been requesting. So we love to do kind of like community driven designs. So
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what we show every week or every month here. And one issue that people have had in the past is, finding events to play. There's so many to choose from, so many amazing events. And have you managed to find a system to make that any easier?
yeah, so we've got 2 big improvements coming to finding events. So the first one sounds really simple, but is a big change, is you can now scroll across, and previously you were limited to 15 events. But now if you keep going, you'll page into page 2. So for example, Joe C makes absolutely amazing events.
Yes,
and
yes.
if you searched up him as a creator before, you'd only see 15, but now you can keep scrolling and see everything he's ever made.
Oh, amazing.
You can go in all-time greats, any of the tabs we have, and just keep scrolling. And at the bottom, you can see we've got a little page number to indicate where you've got to, so I could just keep going if I wanted to. Page 3, page 4. So yeah, this will be such a game changer. It doesn't sound big, but I think it will really help everyone
Amazing.
find everything. And then the second one, which is something I'm super excited about, is something we're calling custom flyers.
Okay.
So this event here now has its own custom image. So players, I think,
Very
are gonna.
nice.
It's gonna be great for showing off what you've made and really kind of put creativity into showcasing your event. But it's also going to help kind of find events too. So as you're scrolling through these screens, you can see now what that event looks like. So we kind of have a bit of a running joke that this
generic.
poster, this poster comes up all the time.
It's a great image, but I've seen it enough times. If you choose anything goes, which most players do when they're making an event, this is the default poster you get. And
It's
love
crazy.
the-
The events all look the same somehow. How do they keep doing it?
Yeah, you've just got no way of, like, people can write a description of the event, but there's no way until you actually load into it and play it to know, like, if it's actually good or not.
Excellent.
And then we've got a special dev tool that allows us to, which I've forgotten which button it is. Which button is it?
Blueprint options.
Blueprint options. Aha. So in here we can endeavour edit existing events.
Oh.
And I'll be able to show you making a custom flyer. So in your typical EventLab menu here, we've got a new option called Custom Flyer. And if you press this, it kind of loads you into something similar to like a photo mode state. And that allows you to take a picture anywhere within your event to kind of show off what it is. So if we load in and I'll attempt to take a photo and do a terrible job of it.
And I'm sure it'll be gorgeous.
So you've got kind of like a flyer outline, so you'll know exactly where
that's
things will
really
be to help you align everything. So I might take a picture of a little house. If we, was it around this corner? Here we go. So it should spawn where you kind of were in the world. So it might be worth taking the picture while you're kind of at a similar location. So I'm gonna take a picture of the cute little house. And this will now be the custom flyer.
Very cool.
So you can save it out, you can kind of redo it or delete it. You can go back to having the original one if you kind of change your
I
mind.
already can sense this is going to become an art in itself, you know, foreground, background photography of just this card.
They've got some of the settings available from photo mode that they can actually make some,
Oh.
like, adjustments to the actual picture quality. as well.
Amazing. But like that's because that's a big thing, you know, thumbnails and everything. That's like how you get the attention. I'm sure that can become an entire art, an entire skill in itself. Very cool.
So yeah, two big changes, more than 15 events and custom flyers, and that's our kind of surfacing improvements. But I'm going to pass over to Gareth, who's going to show us.
We did want to also just call out that the official Forza Discord has an EventLab gallery channel where players have been sharing their events, and we'd really encourage players, like with this new update, we'd love to see people posting photos, posting their share codes in there. Yeah, it's a really cool resource to kind of, you can kind of see on screen there. It's got, you can post your event, you can give it tags of like different types, you can filter through it. It's a really cool tool that players have been making use of to kind of get the most out of sharing their events.
So we've got a bunch of really cool tools to show you with EventLab 2.0, and you're going to see why it is EventLab 2.0 and not just an EventLab update. And importantly to note, a lot of these tools, or nearly all these tools, you can actually use in your existing maps. So anything you've already built, you can take use of these tools to edit it and enhance. But we're going to go into a completely blank map, and we're going to show you a few of the things that have been added to the game. So Gareth, what have you got for us?
Cool. Yeah. So so far we're just in regular EventLab as normal. So I guess the first thing to call out is we've added a bunch of new props. So we've got these new platform types. So these are kind of like just basic shapes, but they've got like snow, ice, grass, etc. You can see when we place them, they've got snapping nodes, so you can very quickly make a kind of basic layout of an event. And we've got these basic primitive shapes, which come in all kinds of different colors. Again, snapping nodes on them, do cool things with those. There's a few others that are kind of buried within there. And another really cool thing we've done is we've added snapping nodes to a bunch of our existing props. So the snapping nodes were kind of first introduced with the Hot Wheels expansion, and they've kind of mostly been on those props. We've added them to a few over time, but we've now gone through and added them to all kinds of other props throughout the game. And one thing we've done as well is we've actually got different sizes of snapping nodes, because the original ones were designed for the Hot Wheels pieces. And you can see there, these really giant ones, which were great for really big pieces like the Hot Wheels pieces. But when you're dealing with like little tiny fences and walls, you kind of want different smaller or medium-sized ones, so you can more easily grab them.
And if you are a player that still wants that precision, you can go into the More Options menu and turn snapping nodes off. So you've got the option of both.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, for example, the car park pieces, which we introduced earlier this year, they were quite difficult to work with because they had these large snapping nodes. But now we've got these smaller ones that just make it way easier to kind of connect them all together. But yeah, what you can now do, you'll see on the button prompts along the bottom, we've got a new option, selection mode. So if I click the right stick, I'm now in selection mode. And what I can do is I can press A on a prop to individually select it, press X to remove it from my selection, or I can hold A and it creates this sphere that basically grabs everything within the selection. Once I'm happy with what I've got, I can press the right stick again, so I'm now back into normal mode. And you can see on the top right it says prop selected 3 out of 100. So I can hold up to 100 props. So now that I've got this group, I can kind of treat it like you would a regular prop. So you can pick it up, you can move it around, you can rotate, all the usual stuff, and you can clone it. Which you can imagine.
You said that so casually. Oh, you can clone it.
Which you
it's
could,
a lifesaver for many people.
you could do this with individual props already, but the fact that you can now do this with up to 100 props in one single collection is just such a massive time saver for our community. But it gets better because what we can now also do, if we go back to the selection mode, you can see I've got on the Y button prompt, save selected props. What I can do is I can press that button and you can see I am in a kind of photo mode state where I can move around, get a nice shot of my selection. Not the most exciting selection in this case, but you can imagine obviously people can make some much cooler stuff. And it says prefab thumbnail. So we're calling these prefabs. So these are like a new UGC type that will live within the Creative Hub. And players can, they can save this. And you can see we've got a prefab there already and we can save it, call it whatever we like. I'm just going to call this car park. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's very inventive. So now this is your second prefab.
Yeah, so these are now shared with like all the community. You can give them keywords so players can search for these keywords.
So anybody, you can show anybody your prefabs and they can add any of your prefabs to their existing build. Yeah,
they'll have share codes. The Discord I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a prefab channel that players will be able to also share them there.
Amazing.
And you can browse those prefabs within the pause menu. But what is super cool about this update is we have put it in the menu, in the Blueprint Builder menu itself. So you can see here we've got my prefabs, which are the two that I already had, but we've got community prefabs, and you can see I've got a view more button prompt here. So I press that, and now these are all prefabs that other people have made, and I can just scroll through this list, find something that I want to include in my event.
I love that the dev team, we've just all been making little humans.
Yeah, so these are all dev test ones, but yeah, we could choose whatever we
I feel like we have to give it the little stick man.
Yeah.
Which one was the stick man?
Oh, it was just there, it was a few across. Two
Oh,
more.
this one, right, okay, yep. So we press A to download them.
I like that it's called chillin'.
Yeah. And now you can see it's now in my menu and I can press A. Now I can place him.
That's amazing. That's going to be such a time saver as well, especially for, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of creators who just spend so much time making prefabs for people. They're like not even making courses, just making a...
And yeah, I can clone him. And interestingly, you can see he's made of some neon lights, because another good thing that we've added here is changing the time of day. So at the moment, you can set your time of day and your weather in your event settings, but you can only see the result of that when you are doing the test drive before you publish the event. But now you can do it while you're in build mode. So we can change it to night. You can see how your event is going to look with all of its cool lightings while you're actually creating it, which is
very cool.
Super cool. So yeah, we hope that players kind of appreciate that even if they don't necessarily build EventLabs themselves, they please give it a go. It's a lot of fun, but you'll see the results of the benefits of these, because the events we feature in the festival playlist are all kind of made using these tools. Ones we put on PG Editor's Choice. Yeah, we're putting these updates out every 28 days. So looking for cool EventLabs to put is something we're kind of always up against, and these tools will empower our creators to kind of make better stuff. So yeah, we hope people are kind of really going to enjoy using these.
Because I think even players that have like EventLabs too long for them to invest, I think prefabs is a new way for you to go in, create something in 10 minutes, save it out, or even using other players' prefabs will help you create your event much quicker now.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I said, there's just so much scope for people to be making prefabs. You can just throw into your own and make your own course really, really quickly. It's really cool.
Yeah, another thing we've got to mention as well is we have the ability to like props now. So you see we put a little heart icon. Again, very small little kind of quality of life thing, but now if there's a bunch of props that you use regularly, you can just kind of easily access them. And yeah, there's just like a whole bunch of improvements here that we think people are going to be
definitely
super excited.
They should be. Yeah. But with that in mind, this is a lot of improvement to the existing EventLab system. Like, how did you pick what to put in this update? Because there's like that is so much. But of course, like everybody, can we have this? Can we have that? Because there's unlimited potential, isn't there, really? So how did you pick?
So a few of these came, so Giuseppe sent us a list from kind of community requests. So for example, changing the time of day, having like a favorite kind of liked area within the carousel. So we really like to take what the community are kind of requesting and make sure we put them into our updates. So we kind of went with that, like what are our quality of life things the community are requesting, and then obviously we wanted to do stuff that just made creation easier. We know players love UGC, EventLabs, kind of like photos, liveries. So we thought prefabs would be a really cool new kind of UGC item that players could dip in that they were a bit quicker than a whole event lab.
Yes.
But it makes then EventLab even better as well, so it's kind of like a win-win.
Absolutely. I can already see the competitions and stuff using these prefabs. You know, find a specific car, make your prefab EventLab area. Like there's so much there for communities.
It could even make kind of like co-op EventLab easier. Like I've made all these prefabs, you can use them in your event. And build together.
Use all my prefabs to build something competition-wise. Very cool.
Yeah, kind of as we said, we've been. I think Kelly wrote this feature design back in like January. This was kind of like as we were kind of laying out what we were going to do this year, kind of one of the big things that we definitely wanted to hit. So in the background whilst working on the kind of regular monthly updates, this has been kind of ticking away for quite some time. Sophie's been doing an amazing job in kind of keeping that all running, and it's been super challenging. But
it's our biggest, I think, update to date. Our engineering team have put so much time into kind of adding all these features.
Yeah, in terms of like pure like number of hours, this is the biggest thing we've done in Forza Horizon 5. So we're super excited to see what people make of it.
And Environment Art have like put so much love into this update as well. We've got a lot of like props and so forth.
Yeah, you only see the kind of 3 or 4 people who sit on the sofa every month, but there's hundreds of people behind the scenes who are kind of making all of this happen. So shout out to all of them because we're really happy with how this one has turned out.
It's no small feat, and there's always more to add, of course, never-ending job, I'm sure. But all these EventLab improvements look absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and showing us. And I really look forward to seeing what the community produce with all of this. And hopefully you guys are stoked to get your hands on these new tools as well. I think this is... I'm excited to see what you do with them. But that's not all, because we do actually have one more thing, that will revolutionize the way you use EventLab. Check it out. Welcome to EventLab Island! Yay! And I bet everyone must be very excited to know what EventLab Island actually is. So thankfully we have Sophie here who's going to be explaining to us what it is and why it exists. So take it away.
All right, so our initial plan for EventLab Island was to create a space of which players of all skill levels can just create and have fun. So without the limitations that you would normally get on the Mexico map.
Right.
Mexico, a lot of you would already know, has just a lot of stuff that goes around, which can sometimes impede players. We've noticed a lot of players like to create platforms to create their own events and just their own environments, right? So we just took out the middleman and created a huge flat plane for people to...
Made your own platform.
Yeah.
So there are limitations, of course, in EventLab when you're creating things. You have a prop limit and stuff. So is this a way to sort of mitigate that?
Yes, so because it's simple, there's no like foliage, no assets out, that means we've increased the budget in which players can have their own stuff. So that means more props, bigger events, and hopefully should run smoother.
Yeah, I mean, and it's huge. Let's take a moment here to appreciate the scale. We can see the tiny little BMW, I don't know, so small. And yeah, that's, how big is it?
So it is 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, which is huge. And for those who don't understand, like, just dimensions like that, like me, so this equivalent of 16 full stadiums, including all the seating, of just open space for people to do what they want on.
That is wild. And of course, you know, that isn't just a random number. I assume there's a bit of thought that's gone into like how big that is. Like, how did that come about?
So there's a lot of back and forth between like design, art direction, and so many people that trying to decide what would be beneficial for players and what is a good size. We don't want to go too big because that can be quite daunting, but then we wanted to give a good enough space where it's still like usable. So Kelly ended up going through, I'd hate to think how many event labs to work out kind of an average on how much players or how big players were making their events. So then we could use that as like a deciding factor, and that's how we decided on this.
Right. So, I mean, I can't imagine how much time that must have taken to go through so many event labs and be like, hey, you've made a massive lab and you've made it a small, and also to consider the reasons why, right? Like, because you've got those limitations and you've got to be careful with how much space you take up. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel so seen having my game design workings out.
It's all very carefully considered. But you know, you've made quite a lot of large spaces already with the Rally Adventure and the Hot Wheels maps. So what was making this? I mean, to the layman, it looks like a big concrete slab, right? So what was the process like for this?
So even though it is just a concrete slab in the middle of the ocean, there was a lot of work that went into how to make it interesting. Not just from like a close up when you're driving around, but some players make some crazy event labs where it's like roller coasters all over the place.
Yeah.
How do we still make it look interesting from a distance? So we came up with this idea. There's a lot of functionality to it as well. So all of the decals, you see all the yellow lines, they're like 500 meters apart. So you can line things up, make sure it's all symmetrical. So yeah, like...
Yeah, and each of those squares seems very carefully measured. So it's all very
accurate.
Yes, accurate and intentional design there to help everybody.
Yeah, my initial idea was just like, oh, sandbox, simple space, and then our art director like makes this amazing concept, and it's like, oh wow, that's way better than I could have ever imagined.
That's why you're an art director.
The initial driver was like, so we have the stadium in the main map, which is kind of the blank slate that players kind of default to. And when we shipped the game, there was no kind of activation point that was like in the stadium. So players, they were building a lot in one of the races that was right next to the stadium, and you had to do like an awkward 180 to get into the stadium.
Yeah.
And then we've added like the oval track and the build stub that are nearby that players kind of get into that stadium. But yeah, because it's that super flat open space, it's kind of like the place where most EventLab creators seem to do their best work. So yeah, the idea of giving them somewhere which is much, much bigger and just completely like unblocked by those kind of limitations.
And like so much potential. And not only that, but you can not just build on the concrete, right?
Yeah. So you're not just limited by the 2 kilometre by 2 kilometre square. You can go
such a limitation.
But you can go over the ocean too.
Wow.
So,
oh, look at that. It's not just a random platform.
Oh, yeah.
It does go down to the sea.
The Horizon
realistic concrete
The
block.
Horizon Festival with their infinite supply of money have apparently been able to build a giant man-made island in the middle of the ocean.
Well, I think whilst we are obviously having fun watching you play some prefabs here, I think there is an event made on the island using the prefab system. So let's take a look at that, speed things up a little bit. So
Great as that event was, it's not going to get in the festival.
It lacks a bit of pizzazz. Okay, what have we got here? What is this?
So this event has been made by our art director Don. He's made a few events that are like this previously, that are kind of like photo locations. But the thing to call out here is that this is almost entirely made using our prefab system.
That is wild.
So yeah, we'll zoom out and have a good look at it. And you can see he's basically built an entire kind of
That's a shopping
industrial complex.
Gives me like Death Star vibes.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And he told me he built this within a day.
Wow.
I'm sure, like, if you look at just like the little individual details of all, if you sort of manually placed each of these props, this would take hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. But yeah, he was able to kind of almost make a kind of like modular system of these props that can be up to, these prefabs that can be up to 100 props, and then he could kind of place them, clone them, and yeah, you just end up with this, quite quick to iterate on, just this massive.
And the sheer amount of space, size, like props everywhere as well, that is...
Yeah, on the dev team we make like the little stick men, and then Don comes along and makes this, and we're like, oh well, put us all to shame.
Now you've said Death Star, that's all I can think about now. I'm like, that is very Star Wars vibes here.
We're really excited to see, like, with EventLab Island, kind of like, almost like a kind of Animal Crossing thing of like people kind of making their own island to see like what they do with it. Because yeah, it's absolutely wild what he was able to do.
Yeah. And having that prefab system where you can just take a bunch of props, copy and paste into another area, and then just subtract from them to instantly make it look a bit different. It's wild. Very, very, very cool.
It's kind of making your own world, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. and unlimited creativity. Hopefully you guys enjoy creating everything. Thank you for showing us everything there is to do in EventLab 2.0. Luckily for you, we do have a recap video that shows you all the cool stuff we've just been discussing, if it was all a little bit too much to take in. So let's take a look at that right now.
Hi, I'm Kelly, Senior Game Designer at Playground Games, and today we're happy to introduce you to EventLab 2.0, our new and updated user creation tool coming to Forza Horizon 5. Since we launched Forza Horizon 5, our community has built amazing creations with EventLab that thousands of players have enjoyed. It's thanks to your continued support and feedback that we want to empower creators to come up with even better events. Everything we're about to show is free for all players when the update goes live on September 12th. Welcome to EventLab 2.0. First in our list of improvements includes a new selection tool to select multiple items at once. You can either individually select the items or use the new sphere selection tool to select everything the sphere is touching at once. You can then move, rotate, and duplicate your group of props to significantly reduce build time. And to streamline things even more, you can now save a group of props to create a prefab, which you can use yourself or share with other players. Shared prefabs can be found in the Creative Hub, and you can even access them directly within the build mode. You can save any that you like and then start using them in your own events. We've also added custom flyers. Now you can load into your event and take a photo of it, with guidelines showing you the poster overlay to get the perfect shot. When browsing other players' events, you can now see what it looks like before you start playing. In addition to that, we've added a huge number of new items for you to build your event with. These include pieces to make a petrol station and large basic shapes, among others. We've also added snapping nodes to some of our existing pieces, such as fences and walls, allowing you to line these up perfectly. There's even now a favourites menu, so you can quickly find the items you use the most. Also, some of our new settings and improvements include the ability to now browse more than 15 events in the event browser. You can choose different checkpoint styles for your events, and you can change the time of day when in creation mode to see what the final results will look like before you take it for a test drive. Finally, we couldn't think of a better way to celebrate all your amazing creations so far than by giving you even more room to create. That's why we welcome you to EventLab Island, a new blank canvas for you to build the event of your dreams. EventLab Island aims to revolutionize the EventLab community with its massive 2km by 2km space. It includes grid markings to help line up your props, and most importantly, it includes a much higher prop budget, allowing you to create larger and more complex events than ever before. We hope you all enjoy these new features when the Horizon Creatives Update releases to all players on Xbox, Windows and Steam on September 12th. We can't wait to see what you create with it.
Well, that just looked amazing, didn't it? I can't wait to see what you will make when you are let loose on EventLab Island. But the fun doesn't end there, as next month there will be yet another banger update heading your way. So let's take a look at the coming soon page and just get a little preview of what to expect. It's quite ominous, actually. Dia de Muertos.
Yeah, so next month on October 12th we have Dia de Muertos. So we're celebrating a huge Mexican holiday kind of celebration and cultural event.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some really cool and beautiful decorations in Mulegé, all related to the event. And if any eagle-eyed viewers have seen, but we're going to have the most requested car. We'll let you kind of work out what that means and what context it is.
Ooh.
But I'm hopeful that players will love it. And then we've got a brand new collectible and some new clothing items. So yeah, super exciting.
If anyone didn't know, Dia de Muertos is Day of the
Day
Dead.
of the Dead, yeah. Lots of celebrations to be done, because it mostly sounds quite, ominous. It's not. It's actually a celebration, and we will be celebrating. So very exciting. Well, that is all from us here at Playground Games today. Also, be sure to tune in on Monday for Forza Monthly. We're only a month away from the launch of Forza Motorsport, and Turn 10 will be previewing the opening act of the game. Plus, we'll hear from community group Forza Creators Guild about their EventLab library and a whole lot more. But otherwise, thank you so much from us for watching, and we'll see you next time. Adios.
Bye.